Welcome to the first episode of the Walk the Line podcast. I'll be your host, Greg Sowers, and today's topic will be the question I get asked often, and that is how do I get scouts to notice me? Before diving into our first episode topic, as this being the first episode, I wanted to lay out kind of what I intend this podcast to be and the goal I wish to accomplish from this podcast. So there's a lot of information out there about hockey and what to do and where to be on the ice. And you got your Spit and Chicklets, another hockey podcast where stories are told by ex-NHL players or former coaches from the NHL or professional leagues. And what I'd like to do with this platform is just to provide more information from a lens from a person who's more on the youth hockey level, the high school level, and involved with junior hockey as well. Um, and at some point, we'll get into my background and where I currently fit into the hockey world. But for the purposes of this episode, I think it's important to note that I currently coach two youth teams here in Nashville, Tennessee, and also scout for two junior hockey teams. I have college hockey experience, coaching college hockey experience at the club level, and my playing career got me to NCAA Division III, where following that, I played a few games of minor pro. Um, Another thing that I think will be different about this podcast is we're not going to focus on the X's and O's of the game. Sure, there'll be some storytelling with guests we bring on, but I really want to focus on the mental part and the things outside of the rink that could help our younger players. And additionally, we may bring on some guys who have aged out and trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their lives. Not that the thing they've been doing for their whole life is over. So again, focusing on the mental side of the game, and if we have 100 people listen, or if we have one person listen, that's that's all fine and well. We're just trying to make sure that what we're providing is helping somebody, and that'll be enough. So back to the original topic for today. How do I get scouts to notice me? I don't think we're really going to be speaking to tryouts in this episode, but more of our high school players or junior hockey players, guys at that U16, U18 level, trying to get to, a junior team or potentially even a college team. And the biggest thing I could advocate for is being able to market yourself. There's obviously you can get family advisors, pay for an agent. There's a whole bunch of logistics that go into getting an agent if you want to play college hockey. But the biggest thing you can do is work for yourself. And what I mean by that is you be the one to reach out to coaches. You be the one to reach out to scouts. Put together a hockey resume. Just some of you out there listening may not have applied for a job yet, but put together a hockey resume. Your current team you're playing for, your height, your weight, what hand you shoot, what position you play, and then list a few references. Your current coach or an ex-coach you had who can speak well for you. All these things are important and give you that extra leg up on someone else who's trying to do the same thing you are. And the key's looking for those little niches that you could find to make yourself pop, make yourself appear better than your peers. And like I said, on that hockey resume, you can include your stats and for the past couple seasons. You can even put your goals on there, what you're trying to do with your hockey career, and you can make those personal in the sense of if you're trying to play for a junior team, you change your goal to I want to play in the NAHL or the NA3HL or the other 100 teams and leagues that are out there now. So just being able to make something that represents yourself for a coach or a scout that they can take a look at, not only watch you play on the ice, but also read on paper what you are accomplishing and what you're all about. Um, Apart with that hockey resume and marketing yourself, I'm sure many of our listeners are going to showcases or tryouts. And like I said, I'm not going to really touch on what to do on the ice for tryouts, but if you're signed up for a showcase this summer or this spring or fall, whatever it may be, look and see what teams are going to that showcase. Um, you want to have your name already circled before that coach shows up to that showcase. So if that means you're going to the showcase here in Nashville and you notice a junior team that you have interest in is attending, the showcases normally will provide which teams will be there. Just go to that team's website, look up that coach. I'm sure their email is somewhere on there, and send them your hockey resumes. Hey, I'm Greg. I'm a defenseman. I'm 5'9", 180, whatever it may be, and I'd really love the opportunity for you to come watch me play. I'm on the blue team at this showcase, and I'll be wearing number 6. I'd love the chance to talk or meet and talk with you at some point during the weekend, and that's how it all gets started. You're just looking to get that conversation started, let them know who you are, and like I said, you want to put yourself in front of your peers, and I guarantee most players at this age trying to move up are not doing those little things to make themselves stand out. And if you send, an email a week before the showcase, your name's already got an asterisk by it. I'm going to watch this kid. He's taking the extra effort to be noticed by me. He's got that drive. He's showing he wants it. And that way you're already on a list. Now you got to follow that up with how you play, but having uh, that extra piece of advertising for yourself could really go a long way. One thing I'd like to add to the hockey resume, um, the benefit of today's world is most of our games are streamed, whether it be Live Barn or Hockey TV. Um, if it's not too much of an expense, coaches can log in and watch these games. So even if they're not at a showcase that you'll be attending, you could always say, "Hey, my games are on Hockey TV. I'm playing at this time for this team. I'm number 8," and that'll give them another opportunity to take a look at you. Um, Another thing to add into that hockey resume is your grades. When I talk about, coaches also care about the kind of person you are. It's not just what you can do on the ice. They want good people for their environment and their culture, and what are they going to bring to the team off the ice. So if you get good grades, and they're just trying to get you to that next level once you get with them. So grades is a big part of that. They're not going to take a player who's getting all F's in high school, and now they got to find a place for this kid to go to school for college and play. Um, why would a coach take on that burden of trying to fit a kid into a school who's not academically eligible? So just remember to, if you have the resource of you got film on yourself, or there's your games are broadcasted in some fashion over the internet, make sure you share that on your hockey resume, and additionally make sure you include your grades and any other educational achievements that you've had over the past few years. um, and this will be more for our junior hockey players, but there are multiple resources out there to get you in touch with college coaches. For the NCAA D1 level, that's obviously they have scouts everywhere. Those are your top end players. You can, I mean, you can go ahead and email their coach, but they are picking from a very small or a very large pool, but a very small player type. These are your high level, your blue chip players that are going to play Division 1 hockey. Um, but a resource that I often recommend is uscho.com. On this website, it'll list every NCAA D1 team, every D2 team, every D3 team. And if you don't already know that school's athletic website, it'll have it listed there. It'll have the head coach, it'll have their roster, how many D they have, how many forwards they have. And what you're able to do with this research is, one, determine the contact that you should be reaching out to. Again, same thing, send your hockey resume, where you're going to be playing, where they might see you. But you're also a big thing is, where do you fit? If you notice from looking at that roster that all their kids are from Michigan and they're 6'5", over 200 pounds, maybe they're not a good fit for you if you're playing in Georgia or Tennessee and you're 5'8". So see where they take kids from in the years past. Another key thing to look at is I'll use the defenseman again. If they have 11D on their roster and you notice they only have one senior, well, if I'm an incoming freshman, am I really gonna try to make my way out of that lineup, beating out 10 guys that were there, 10 other defensemen that were there last year? Um, so just make sure you're being aware of you're a puzzle piece and where can you fit in on this team. And the more information you can include in your introductory email to that head coach, the better. If you're hey coach, I here's my hockey resume, this is what I have interest in. I notice you have 8 defensemen on your roster and 4 of them are seniors. I'm a defenseman, this is what I'm good at, and I can feel that I'd fit in well with your program. That just gives you that extra pop again, putting you over someone else that's trying to do the same thing. Um, I think another key thing to do when marketing yourself is don't be afraid. Go shake hands at showcases. Again, the email is one thing, but it also shows that coach that you're mature enough to handle these conversations on your own. Um, and the scout or coach will be impressed that you're coming up to them. I mean, how many kids can confidently walk up to a coach of a junior hockey team or a college hockey team and introduce themselves? These coaches and scouts, they're not only looking for good hockey players, but they're looking for good people. Um, and good people in the sense of doing all the right little things, showing up on time, you know, treating other people with respect, having that good attitude, giving 100% effort. All those little things can really be shown in a one-on-one conversation. Um, and when I say to build off of that one-on-one conversation, it's good to have mom and dad around, but at some point, you, the player, has to be the one to facilitate that conversation. One of the most frustrating things you can have as a coach is you have an 18-year-old kid who, wants to speak to you, and mom and dad are standing there with them. It depends on the situation, but at some point, you have to advocate for yourself. So just think about that when you're trying to have these conversations. And that's not to say you can't ask mom and dad what to put in your email or how the conversation should go, but it's a good learning moment for you. It'll build your confidence, and maybe the first conversation doesn't go so well, but the second one will get better, and you'll get better and better each conversation you have. So, again, how do I get scouts to notice me? First thing, market yourself. The second thing, do your research. Okay, see what see what teams have, see what they're looking for, see where they're pulling guys from. Um, and the last thing I'll say is be yourself. This goes for on the ice as well, but you know, people can pick up on if you're not being yourself, even if it's through a written email. Don't write your email like you're an accountant or somebody you're not. Write it, you're a high school kid trying to move up, trying to get somewhere in their hockey career, and be real with them. Most of those coaches are well, 90% of those coaches are former hockey players. Like, they understand, they've been there, they've been in the same shoes you are. Um, make sure you spell check your email, but you don't need to add in all the professional terminology, or just talk like a hockey player. It's a one-on-one conversation, and you should be comfortable speaking in the language that you're most comfortable with. Um, so that'll pretty much wrap up today's topic, um, on how do I get scouts to notice me. Some other topics we're exploring and we may dive into on next week's episode. Is playing other sports good or bad? How important is off ice training? More specifically, how do we stand out in tryouts? Um, a big question I get asked is, why don't I play, or why am I not getting an ice time? Why am I not in the power play? Talking about how to stay positive through that experience and what you could do differently to potentially move up the lineup. Um, so again, these episodes probably won't be more than 15 minutes unless we get a guest on, but just trying to, the game gave me a lot, and uh, I'm looking for different ways to give back to the game. And again, if we have one listener, that's fantastic. If we have 100, that's also great. So, um, if you do have any questions or think we should talk about a topic or a guest that we should bring on, feel free to respond to the email that I'll have in the show notes here. Um, but if there's anything else that you guys think you want to hear about, feel free to email, and we'll talk to you all next week.